Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Belmont Park here on Saturday. It's the 11th of June, 2022. It's Belmont Stakes Day, and I'm going to look at the Belmont Stakes and all the other stakes races on the program. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me next week for my Royal Ascot previews. It's going to be an excellent week of racing, but it's Belmont Stakes. We've been all around the country for the Triple Crown. We've been in Louisville, we've been in Baltimore. Now we're back to my hometown here in New York, so it's good to be home. It's a good card here from Belmont today. Some short field sizes, but I think it's an exciting day of racing. We're going to look at races 3 through 11. The 11th race is the big one, so we have a few races to get to first. Let's start off with the third race from Belmont, which is the Acorn Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse $500,000. Race for 3-year-old fillies here. We have a field of 5 horses going to the Belmont main track. The distance of ground is 1,600 meters, or the 1 mile trip on the Belmont main track. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here in the Acorn. And I show the diagram. Just gives me a second to look down my notes. Just bear with me. Top selection, I'm going to go to the 5 horse here. The 5 horse Echo Zulu. Let's go 5-3-4-2 in the superfecta. 5-3-4-2 super. Top selection of 5 horse Echo Zulu. This 3-year-old filly by Gunrunner. Steve Asmussen trains this one. Joel Rosario gets the leg up. The horse's most recent outing came 6th of May at Churchill. Wet, fast, but Herod going a mile and the 8th in the Kentucky Oaks, and the horse finished 4th by 3 lengths that day. Never really got to the front end that day, just kind of stalked at a very fast pace, hit the wall late. I just don't think this horse wants to go 2 turns. She's cutting back to a 1-turn mile, which I think she's won over a 1-turn mile very impressively already here at Belmont, and I just think that's going to be her better trip. Her seasonal reappearance came in the Fairgrounds Oaks at the Fairgrounds, mile 16th on 26th March. And she won by a nose that day, and she was setting some pedestrian fractions. She was, decreasing stride late, and probably wasn't 100% cranked. Also, maybe the 2 turns got to her, but she still got the job done. But she's had flashier victories, and then before then, the Brews Cup Juvenile Fillies at Del Mar, mile 16th, 5th of November. She was much the best on paper, and she won very easily, winning by 5 1/4 lengths, very pedestrian fractions. She got the mile 16th because she basically walked in the front end there, and then before then, the Frizette here at Belmont, 1 mile on the 3rd of October, winning by 7 1/4 lengths, and basically very, very easy, good run, very quick run, earning a 90 buyer there. And then the spin away before that, Saratoga over the 7/8, winning by 4. She didn't break that well. She hit the gate going out of it, but after that she really put on a show, coming here at 3-5 off some decent workouts, back to a 1-turn mile. I like her a lot. Your second likeliest winner, I think, is a 3 horse Divine Huntress. Grand Motion trains this 3-year-old filly by Divining Rod. Luis Saez gets the mount. She's 12-1 here. Most recently in the Black Eyed Susan at Pimlico over the mile and 8th. She finished 4th by 5 lengths that day. She never really showed up. They tried her in the Gazelle where she never showed up, but I think she wants a 1-turn mile. She's not a fast horse out of the gate, but if there's going to be a bit of a pace duel with a pace meltdown late, say Maitreya goes with it with Echo Zulu, I think this horse could pick up the pieces late. If she runs a race like she did at Parks January, she definitely can win. I'm going to give her a shot cutting back and trip to a 1-turn mile, but I do think Echo Zulu is very likely to winner. But to recount my selection for the 3rd from Belmont, it's the Grade 1 Acorn. Let's take the 5 horse Echo Zulu. Give kudos to the 3 horse Divine Huntress. 5-3-4-2 super. 5-3 in your multi-race. The 4th race from Belmont, it's the Just a Game Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse $500,000. Race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 5 horses going to the Belmont Widener Turf Course. The distance of ground here of 1,600 meters, or a mile on the Widener Turf Course. 1,600 meters, 1 mile here in the Just a Game. My top selection, we're going to go take the number 3 horse here, who is Speak of the Devil. Let's go 3-2-5-4 in the superfecta. 3-2-5-4 super, top selection of 3 horse. Speak of the Devil, 5-year-old mare by Woodham Bassett. Chad Brown trains, Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 7th of May at Churchill. First start stateside, 1 mile in the Churchill Distaff Turf Mile, and the horse went by 2 1/4 lengths and basically circling the field that day. Sat back early from a little bit wide post row. When this horse got the turn of foot, he won quite easily. Some horses haven't been handling the turf course at Churchill this season so far, with it being a new turf course, not properly rooted yet, everybody's been saying. But this horse really, even with that said and done, with some horses just not firing, this horse really put on a show. Coming here today, a little quicker turf course. I think the horse could really run a good race here today. Before that, the horse ran the 16th of November at St. Cloud, very waterlogged ground, a mile in the pre-Tatine Stakes, just a listed stakes. The horse went by a nose that day and was on the front end. You know, it was kind of hitting the wall late, but dug it in to get the job done. She showed potential there. And then before then, the pre-Oslo Bella Stakes at St. Cloud over the mile on the 31st of October. She won by 3 lengths that day, and from a track position, when she got the lead, she got the job done easy, even with the heavy weight there. You know, they tried her against some very tough horses over the summer. She ran the pre-Rothschild, where she lost to Mother Earth, where she ran an okay third place finish, closing up a little bit. Came back to running the Prix de Pin at Longchamp over the 7, where the horse just really, you know, moved a little bit late, but she just had to save some ground. And then the Prix de la Forêt against the boy, she really didn't do a lot of running that day and just never showed up against those tough horses. But way down the class ladder to the stateside, I think at even money, she's a likely winner. The other likeliest winner is the 2-horse Regal Glory, the other brown here. This 6-year-old mare by Animal Kingdom. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. Most recently in the Jenny Wiley at Keeneland over the mile 16th. She won by a length from a track position. She really went nicely there off the bench. Before that, she won the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf over the mile 16th at Gulfstream easily. Then won the Matriarch before that at Del Mar very, very easily also. She's run well here at Belmont in the past, but her only really subpar race here came in this race last year where she had a horrible trip. She didn't break that well, was very, very wide, and she just a little bit too much to overcome late, but I don't think it's as tough as the race last season. Her form's a lot better in this coming to this race than it was last year. At 6-5, another horse you could definitely use in the early pick 4, but to recap my selection for the 4th from Belmont, it is the Grade 1 Just a Game. Let's take the 3-horse Speak of the Devil, give kudos to the 2-horse Regal Glory, 3-2-5-4 Super, 3-2 in your multi-race. The 5th race from Belmont, it is the Brooklyn Stakes. It's a Grade 2 event going for a purse $400,000, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 7 horses taking a lap around the Belmont main track, which is 2,400 meters in circumference, with a distance of ground of 1.5 miles on the Belmont main track. 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles here in the Brooklyn. And race very rich in history. It's been run at various trips since about 2008 or 9. It's been run at 1.5 miles, and then I always remember it being run at about 1.1 miles, and when I was really young. Then before that it was 1 mile 3/8 and 1.5 miles and 1 mile 3/4. It's been run at various distances, but it's it's one of your better 1.5 mile races on dirt for older horses. But my top selection here, I'm gonna go with the 3-horse Warrant. Let's go 3-7-5-1 in the superfecta. 3-7-5-1 super, top selection of 3-horse Warrant for a colt by Constitution. Brad Cox trains, Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 23rd of April at Keeneland, 1.1 miles in the Grade 3 Ben Ali, and the horse finished 4th by 3 lengths that day, and he just kind of stalked all the way around the race course, couldn't keep up late. You know, it just wasn't his day to win. Maybe he needed the race. Coming back to a slower 1.5 miles, first time he's going the trip. I think he should stay the trip. I think he could really run a good race here today. 2 back, he ran the Santa Anita Handicap at Santa Anita, 1.25 miles on the 5th of March, and he finished 2nd by head. He stalked the pace all the way around. He had to lead for a split portion, but Express Train just got by him late. But this horse was very game and really ran a good race off the bench. And then before that, Louisiana Stakes at the Fairgrounds, mile 16th and the 22nd of January. He finished 3rd by 9 lengths that day, and he was moving a little bit late, but he also needed the race since it was his first start since the Oklahoma Derby at Remington. Mile 8th on the 26th of September. He won by 1 1/4 lengths, and from a driving inside post draw, he really put on a show, an all-around good race there. And then before that, he finished 2nd in the West Virginia Derby and won the Texas Derby before that, Lone Star on the slot very nicely. I think he should absolutely love the 1.5 miles. Has some good forwardly pace. At 3-1, let's use him. The 7-horse Fearless is your second likeliest winner for Tom Pletcher, 6-year-old gelding by Go Zapper. Luis Saez gets the mount. Most recently in the Oakland Handicap, he placed behind Last Samurai that day. He was a little bit wide, but was closing up well late there. Before then, he won the Go Zapper at Gulfstream, going 1.8 miles very easily by 6 lengths from a track position, and then had an okay second place finish behind Speaker's Corner and the Gulfstream Park Mile and in the Fred Hooper. He's another horse, longer trip, shouldn't be a problem. I think he could stay here at 3-1. His buyers are definitely up to scratch. But to recap my selection for the 5th from Belmont, it's the Grade 2 Brooklyn. Let's take the 3-horse Warrant. Give kudos to the 7-horse Fearless. 3-7-5-1 Super. 3-7 in your multi-race. To the 6th event now from Belmont. The 6th race from Belmont, it is the Woody Stevens Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $400,000, race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 6 horses heading to the main track, the distance of ground of 1,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Belmont main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here in the Woody Stevens. My top selection, we're going to go take the number 4 horse Morello as a top selection. Let's go 4-3-1-2 in the superfecta. 4-3-1-2 super, top selection of 4 horse Morello. This 3-year-old colt by Classic Empire. Steve Asmussen trains this one. Joel Rosario gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 9th of April at Aqueduct, a mile and 1/8 in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, and the horse finished 6th by 21 1/4 lengths that day, and basically lost all chances at going out of the gate. He hit it going out of it, so it kind of blindsided him, and never showed that forwardly pace, and as even just under 2-1 favorite, he didn't show. It set up for a really good race for early voting, who finished second, went on to win the Preakness after that, and then Mo Donegal, who ran an okay, 6th place finish or 7th place finish in the Derby. I can't remember which position was right now, but this horse, he needs to break it better. Coming here back to a 1-turn mile, which I think is his preferred, 1-turn 7 furlong, which I think is going to be his preferred trip. I think he get back to his winning ways, because two-back, he ran a terrific race, I thought, at Aqueduct. Mile on the 5th of March in the Grade 3 Gotham. He won by 4.5 lengths. He had a little bit of a wide post. He kind of hit the gate going out of it, which is a thing for him. He's done it 3 times. Last time out was the worst in the Wood, but in the Gotham, he hit the gate going out of it, but he settled well after that in a tracking position. He got the lead, he quickened up nicely, and he destroyed that group of horses home. An all-around good race for him there. And then prior to that, the Jimmy Wingfield at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs, good main track, 6th of February. Winning by 5 lengths. That day he had a decent break considering what he had beforehand and afterwards. But he tracked, he got the lead again, won quite easily, earning 84 buyer, and then broke the main at Aqueduct on 27th of November, going 3/4. Won by 4.5 lengths. Again, hit the gate going out of it. Was a little bit out of it early on, but really closed up well to get the victory. He's training well at Churchill. Come back to New York at 92. He's a likely winner, I think, if he breaks today. The 3-horse Wit, I think, is your second likeliest winner. 3-year-old colt by Practical Joke. Tom Pletcher trains. Adelaide Hughes Jr. gets mounts. He won here on Belmont Stakes weekend last year, going 5.5 in the main special weight, breaking his main by 6 lengths. Completely missed a break that day, but he settled well after that, and he closed up from nowhere to win by half a dozen. That was a good race. Came back to win the Sanford by 8 in July at Saratoga, and then came back to run a good second place finish in the Hopeful at Saratoga this summer, where again he completely missed a break, but really closed up well behind Goodnight that day. And then they ran him in the Champagne, where he finished 3rd by 3.25 lengths, and he just never really got that gate well. Came back to run the Bayshore a few months ago at Aqueduct, going 7 furlongs, where he won by a nose, and he got there in the nick of time. It took him a little bit of time to get going, but it was still a very good run. He should be very crank second off the bench, and I think he's sitting on a good run. The number 1 horse, Shaq Christopher, he surprised me in the Pate Mile. I thought he was going to probably need the race, but he won by 3 3/4 lengths. I do think this race, even with a smaller field, is going to be a lot tougher. He's going to have a lot more further pace challengers, and I have questions with him. Can he do this again off the quick turnaround after he's not the soundest horse in the world? He did win the Champagne though, very impressively last year at Belmont Gogo Mile, and broke the main before that, Saratoga, very nicely. I have questions with him. Can he show another good race after that quick turnaround after being out with injury? If he wins, he wins, but I'll use him on the pick 4 ticket, but I will go a few places other in the I do prefer the other 2 before him. But to recap my selection for the 6 from Belmont, it's the Grade 1 Woody Stevens. Let's take the 4 horse Morello, give kudos to the 3 horse Wit and the 1 horse Jack Christopher. 4-3-1-2 super, 4-3-1 in your multi-race. The 7th race from Belmont, it is the Ogden Phipps Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse $500,000. Race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 5 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground here of 1,700 meters, or the distance of ground of mile 16th on the Belmont main track. 1,700 meters at mile 16th here in the Ogden Phipps. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse Search Results. Let's go 5-3-1-4 in the superfecta. 5-3-1-4 super, top selection of 5 horse Search Results. 4-year-old filly by Flatter. Chad Brown trains. Adelaide Hughes Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came second off the bench here at Belmont. 8th of May, a mile in the mud, seal going in the Ruffian. And the horse won by 3 lengths that day. And the old Search Results came back that day. She settled well out of the gate in a tracking position. She slowly moved her way up. When she got the turn of foot, she ran the race for her life, earning a 96 buyer. I thought that was a very good run. Again, facing some tough horses. Probably with the it's another small field, but any of these five probably can win on paper. She's up with the challenge here, and I think her buyers are up to scratch. I think she could really run a good race here today. Two back, she ran a disappointing race, I thought, in the distaff handicap at Aqueduct. 7 furlongs on the 9th of April. She finished third by 13 3/4 lengths that day, and she just never really got into it. Was very wide, and she just wasn't 100% cranked that day. And then before then, the test at Saratoga, 7 furlongs, 7th of August. She finished third by 5 1/4 lengths that day. Bella Sophia really ran a good race on the front end. This horse just sat back early after not the best beginning, stupidly wide, and she just really couldn't get there late. But then at this fixture last year in the Acorn, she won by a half length, really putting on a show from a tracking position. I do think coming back to a 1-turn mile 16th, back to Belmont, where she's run very well in the past, training well. I think at 9-2, she's a very likely winner. You can't. You also have to use, I think, the 3-horse mouth at your 2021 Kentucky Oaks winner. She came back after that to run a very good second place finish in the coaching club and won the Alabama very easily. Came back to a disappointing third in the Breeze Cup Distaff, where she just had a little bit of a trouble trip, but was closing up well late. And then before that, and then after that, came back to win the Double Dog Dare a few weeks ago at Keeneland. She's another horse. She's training well. She likes running here at Belmont. It wouldn't surprise me at 5-2 she wins. And also the one horse Latruska, out of her races so far this year, they're not as impressive victories as it was in 2021, but she's getting the job done here. But her races here at Belmont, she had that one very good race here last season, the Ogden Phipps, but the one before that was just a little bit of disappointing run. And her workout patterns haven't been the greatest going into this race. That's something that scares me. 6-5, she could definitely win on paper, but I think the other two are a little bit fresher, and I think they can run better races. But to recount my selection for the 7 from Belmont, it's the grade 1 Ogden Phipps. Let's take the 5-horse search results. Give kudos to the 3-horse mouth out and the 1-horse Latruska. 5-3-1-4 super. Let's go 5-3-1 in your multi-race. Let's get to the 8th, the beginning of the late pick 4 from Belmont. The 8th race from Belmont, it is the Jaipur Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $400,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a baker's dozen, 13 horses heading to the Widener turf course. The distance of ground here of 1,700 meters, or excuse me, 1,200 meters, or the distance of ground of 6 furlongs on the Belmont Widener turf course. 1,200 meters, 6 furlongs in the Jaipur. And I'm trying to think of the other grade 1 turf sprints in this country. I know the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, of course, but is this the only other one that's a grade 1? God, I want to say so, because I don't think there's any grade 1s at Saratoga on the Mellon. That's turf sprints that are grade 1s, and I don't think the Keeneland turf sprints are, and definitely not Southern California. So this might be the other one behind the Breeders' Cup race, and it's always a good race. They always set the track record. Seems this race. The track record is 105-3. Will they break it today? The turf course is fast. I don't think it's as fast as certain meetings as it was in the past here at Belmont, but I think you're going to see a good pace in this one, and I think it's going to play towards a closer. And I love the as a top selection, the 4-horse Consecrate. He won this race last year. We're going to go 4-3-12-5 in the superfecta. 4-3-12-5 super. Top selection of 4-horse Casa Creed. 6-year-old horse by Jimmy Creed. Belmont trains. Luis Saez gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing came at Maidan on the 26th of March in the UAE. About 6 furlongs in the Group 1 Alquan sprint. And he finished 5th by 2 1/4 lengths. He ran a terrific race 2 back in Saudi Arabia. I do think he just wasn't 100% cranked that day in Dubai. And, he just kind of stalked and really never got into it. It wasn't his day to win. Coming back to New York, was run very well in the past. He's training very, very well. So a good pace to close up with. I think he's sitting on a very good run. 2 back in Saudi Arabia on 26th February. 6 3/4 furlongs, 13 in the Group 3, 13:51 turf sprint. He finished second by a neck and closed up from nowhere that day. He just missed late, but he was closing up like an express train. That was a very good run. Like I said, might take something out of him with the next race, but he put on a show there. And then before that, Del Mar, mile on the 6th November, the Breeders' Cup Mile, he finished 8th by 5 3/4 lengths that day. He just had a little bit of a wide post draw. You need to have a good trip at the Del Mar turf course, and he just didn't have that. It just wasn't his day to win. And then before that, Kentucky Downs, 6 furlongs in the Kentucky turf sprint. He finished fifth by 3 lengths that day, and he closed up a little bit late. But that Kentucky turf course is very quirky. I don't think he handled the quirkiness. And then before that, a mile on the 4-star Dave, he finished third by 2 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide. He moved a little bit late, but God Stormy really put on a show. And then last year's Jaipur here at Belmont, 6 furlongs when it was run on the inner turf course last season. He won by 2 lengths. He sat back early. He slowly moved his way up, and he got the job rallying that day at earning a career best 105 bar. That was a very impressive run. And then before that, elusive quality here at Belmont, 7 furlongs, 24th of April. He won by a head, and again, coming from nowhere, again, he put on a show. They tried him, before 2021, he was running these mile races, and he was running decently in spots and not so decently in spots. But when they took him to that elusive quality, cutting him back in trip, he really started to show something. And then when they put him in the Jaipur last year, where he saw a good pace to close up with, he really, again, put on a good show there. At 9-2, I'm going to use him here today. You also have to use the number 3 horse True Valor. Fergal Lynch is on this 8-year-old horse by Kodiak Grand Motion Trains. Most recently, his first start in just over 13 months on the 23rd of April at Laurel, 5.5 furlongs in the King Leatherberry. He won by a half length, and on the front and all throughout, he got the job done. Wasn't the most impressive victories, but he got the job done with it being his first race in 13 months. Coming here to Belmont for the first time ever, I think from a tracking position, he should really run a good race. Two back ran the 27th of March of 2021 at Maidan, 6 furlongs in the Group 1 Alquois Sprint, and he finished 6 by 2.25 lengths that day, and he just never really got going. I do think it was the wrong race for him there. And then the Joe Hernandez at Santa Anita, 6.5 furlongs on the New Year's Day 2021. He finished second by 3/4 length, and he closed up a little bit late, but it wasn't anything spectacular. And then the Aqueduct Turf Championship at Aqueduct, 6 furlongs on our turf course, November of 2020. He finished third by 2.25 lengths, and again, he just needs something there. He's the kind of horse, he doesn't need to lead. I think from a track and position, that's where he's going to really run his good race. At 12-1, I'm going to use him here, and also I think you have to use the 12 horse here, Gear Jockey. Jose Lascano gets on this one for George Arnold. Most recently in the turf sprint at Churchill, 5.5 furlongs on the 6th of May, he finished fourth by 2 lengths that day and had a very troubled trip down the backstretch. He moved a little bit late, but after all is said and done, he needs to get a better trip. He's coming here to Belmont, where from a wide post he'll probably be sent close to the front end, and I think he could get a good trip here today. Training well Keelan, 6-1. We'll definitely use him on the multis in the late pick 4, but I do prefer the other two before him. But to recap my selection for the 8th from Belmont, the Grade 1 Jaipur, let's take the 4 horse Consecrate, give kudos to the 3 horse True Valor and the 12 horse Gear Jockey, 4-3-12-5 Super, 4-3-12 in your multi-race. The 9th race from Belmont, it's the race everybody's been waiting for, it seems, all week, all the last few months. The 9th race, it's the Metropolitan Handicap, the Met Mile. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million. It's for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 5 horses, but 5 decent horses, going the distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or a mile on the Belmont main track. 1,600 meters, a mile here in the Met Mile. My top selection here, I'm going to go take a shot here with the number 2 horse Speaker's Corner. Let's go 2-3-4-1 in the superfecta. And right now people are like, what? You didn't put Flightline in your top 2 at least, at the worst? We'll get to that in a second. But 2-3-4-1 Super, top selection 2 horse Speaker's Corner. This 4-year-old colt by Street Sense, Belmont Trains. Junior Alvarado gets announced. Most recent outing came 9th of April at Aqueduct, 7 furlongs in the Grade 1 Carter Handicap, and the horse went by 4.25 lengths that day. And on the front end, he just put on a show. He stalked early on, slowly moved his way up. When he got the job done at 75 cents a dollar, he just kept going. An all-around good race against some very tough horses. Coming here to Belmont, where he's run very well in the past, has some good forwardly pace, training exceptionally well. I think he could really run a good race and improve off the last run. 2 back in the Gulfstream Park Mile at Gulfstream, 1 mile on the 5th of March. He won by 5.25 lengths, and again, he didn't break so well. He hit the gate going out of it, but he settled well after that, quickened up nicely, and he got the job done. A very good race there. And then the Fred Hooper before that at Gulfstream, 1 mile on the 28th of January, not sent off as a favorite, which was shocking. I did have quite a bit of money on him that day, even though he's 1-2 or something like that. I can't remember, but He won by 1 1/4 lengths that day, and again he put on a show cutting back and trip. They tried him in the fall around 2 turns in the Discovery at Aqueduct going a mile and eighth, which he ran okay. He finished second by half length, but he just wasn't staying the 2 turn mile and eighth. He's more of a 1 turn mile. Mile 16th he won before that at Belmont very easily, but he wants to go a mile, a 1 turn mile. He's going to get that today, and he got that after that Discovery, and he's really been putting on the show. His buyer numbers have been incredible. He earned a 109 buyer here at Belmont back in the fall, came back to 103 for the plays in the Discovery, came back for a 102 in the Fred Hooper, a 106 buyer in the Gulfstream Park Mile, and then a career best 114 buyer in the Carter Handicap. I think that was the best buyer so far this year in 2022. So he's really putting on a show. They say he's on the improve. He's trading very well. I think he can really run a good race. I think the 4 horse, your second likeliest winner here is the 3 horse Aloha West. It wouldn't surprise me if Speaker's Corner and Fight Line get into a fight early on and there's going to be a pace meltdown. He needed the race in the Churchill Downs Stakes at Churchill, but before that he won the Breeze Cup Sprint very, very nicely off of a closing turn of foot there, and then finished second in the Keeneland Phoenix. Before that, he has his buyers are up to scratch. He runs 102, 100 buyers decently, upper 90s. And if there's going to be like I said, if there's going to be a suicide pace up on the front end, it wouldn't surprise me if Aloha West picks up the pieces. The 4 horse Happy Saver. I like him cutting back to a 1 turn mile here today. He's going to have to do a lot to win, but, I thought his Alice Sheba race he needed there. He had a decent second in the Clark, and then a decent second in the Jockey Club last season. He likes running here at Belmont, 4-3 on the track. Best buyer was a 103, winning the Jockey Club in 2020. He's training well. At 8-1, we'll use him also in the ticket. I think Flightline will get very overbet. I don't like John Sadler's numbers outside of California, and this horse is going to be facing some very tough horses, a lot classier horses than he's been facing in Southern California. Also, he's not the soundest horse, running every 5 weeks or so, running every 5 months or so. He won the Malibu by 11 1/4 lengths, earning a 118 buyer after not breaking well. That was an impressive victory. And then he won Optional 40 before that, Del Mar going 3/4, and then broke the main before that at Santino very nicely, going 3/4. But those races, he wasn't facing tough horses. He's going to be facing tough horses today, and shipping an unsound horse at times, shipping cross country for a trainer that doesn't have great records outside of his base in Southern California. 3-5. I think Speaker's Corner is a more likelier winner here with all said and done. I think Flightline, like I just said, I think he's going to get very overbet, and I prefer Speaker's Corner way before him. But to recap my selection for the night from Belmont, it's the Grade 1 $1 million Metropolitan Handicap, the Met Mile. Let's take the 2 horse Speaker's Corner as the top selection. Give kudos to the 3 horse Aloha West and the 4 horse Happy Saver. 2, 3, 4, 1 super, 2, 3, 4 in your multi race. And if Flightline goes down, I'll be the first to congratulate him. But like I said, I think Speaker's Corner is sitting on that good run. So let's get to the 10th race now from Belmont. The 10th race from Belmont. It is the Manhattan Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $750,000. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses heading to the Belmont Inner Turf Course, the distance of ground of 2,000 meters, or the distance of ground of 1.25 miles on the Belmont Inner Turf Course. 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles here in the Manhattan. My top selection here, we're going to go take the number 2 horse Gufo. Let's go 2947 in the superfecta. 2947 super. Top selection of 2 horse Gufo. 5-year-old horse by declaration of war. Christophe Clement trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 14th of May at Belmont. Mile 3/8 inner turf course in the Grade 1 Man of War. And the horse finished second by length that day. He sat back early. He moved a little bit late, but Highland Chief just had the jump on him, setting some very, very pedestrian tracking fractions that day. But this horse, he ran his heart out there. He's coming back to a mile and a quarter, which is a bit of a head scratch with him. He'll have to see a good pace to close up with, but I think he can get a good race here today. But there's also a part of me that also wants to say he wants to go 1.5 miles, something like the Bowling Green or the Man of War, something later on in the season might be his preferred trip also, or not the Man of War, the Sword Dancer at Saratoga might be his better trip later on in the season. But I think he can win here today. 2 back in his seasonal reappearance ran the 2nd of April at Gulfstream, about 1.5 miles on the what they call a turf course at Gulfstream and the Grade 2 Pan American, and he won by 2 lengths that day. And he sat back early. He slowly moved his way up, and when he had the turn of foot, he destroyed A-Bond that day. It was an all-around great run for him there, earning a 102 buyer. And then before that, in the Breeze Cup turf at Del Mar, a mile and a half on the 6th of November, he just wasn't keeping up. He had a very troubled trip. He finished 10th by 10 lengths at a stupidly wide post draw. It wasn't his day to win, and also I think he was a tired horse towards the end of that 2021 campaign. He ran terrifically in 2021. He placed in the Man of War, finished third in this race last year, closing up well. Came back to win the Grand Coutier on July 5th here. Won the Sword Dancer very, very nicely, beating a good group of horses home. His average buyer last season was about 198, somewhere around there. So he was always running these fast races. Coming here today, trading well at 3-1. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins. It also wouldn't surprise me if the 9-horse Santin wins. This 4-year-old colt by Distorted Humor. Brendan Walsh trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount. He finally won, after I bet him quite a few times in the last few starts. And the Turf Classic at Churchill, mile and the 8th on the 7th of May, winning by a neck from a tracking position. He was a little bit wide, but he dug in late to get the job done. A 101 buyer. I thought that was a very good run from there. Before then, the Muniz Memorial at the Fairgrounds, mile and 8th on the 26th of March. He finished second by 2.5 lengths that day, and he just couldn't catch two Emmys who had the jump on this horse, but he still ran his heart out there. And then the Fairground Stakes before that, the Fairgrounds, about a mile and 8th on the 19th of February. He finished fourth by a half length, was a little bit wide, but was closing up well late, just a little bit too late there. He always runs these good races. I thought the best race for him before that Turf Classic race was actually the Hollywood Derby, where he's drawn 14 of 14, had a stupidly wide trip and troubled trip, but closed up from nowhere to get the second place finish at 17.5 to 1. He's training well, has forwardly pace, which is good on this turf course. Wouldn't surprise me at 7-2 he gets the job done. And also the 4-horse here, Adamo, for Chad Brown and Flavien Prat. Chad Brown's won this race about 8 or 9 times, it seems, already. So I think he's going for double digits already in this race. But this 4-year Colt Bantello, Flavien Prat gets them out. Most recently in the Turf Classic, I thought he'd need the race. He was just a little bit wide and just a little bit flat. Don't know if he handled the turf course. And then before then, the Fairground Stakes at the Fairgrounds of the mile and 8th. He finished second by head, again, stupidly wide, but was closing up well there late. His races in France, when he saw very soft ground, he wasn't really showing up, and when he saw quick ground, that's when he really showed up. He has some forwardly pace if he wants to use it. 4-1, I definitely use in this very wide open Manhattan. But to recount my selection for the 10th from Belmont, it's the Grade 1 $750,000 Manhattan. I'm going to take as a top selection the 2-horse Gufo, give kudos to the 9-horse Santin and the 4-horse Adamo. 2947 Super, 294 in your multi-race. Let's get to the featured 11th race from Belmont. The 11th race from Belmont, it is the Belmont Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1.5 million. Race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field here of, let's see, as my page craps out. I've been talking now for 30 minutes, and of course, my iPad was acting so smoothly. Of course, when I get to the big race, it always has to crap out, but it actually recovered quite quickly. But they're going. We have a field here of 8 horses going to the main track, 1 lap around the main track for the distance of ground of 2,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 1.5 miles here in the Belmont Stakes. 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles here in the Belmont. And I think it's a good race this year. I'm going to take a shot here with the top selection of the 3-horse Nest. Let's go 3-5-6-1 in the superfecta. 3-5-6-1 super. Top selection 3-horse Nest. This 3-year-old filly by Curlin. Tom Pletcher trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mounts. The horse's most recent, and it's the filly taking on the boy. Let me mention that right away. So she gets a weight break of 5 pounds, carrying 121 pounds, considered to the boys, which are carrying 126 pounds. So the 5-pound weight break. Most recently, they ran her at Churchill, 6th of May, wet fast going, a mile and 8th in the Kentucky Oaks, and she finished second by 2 lengths that day. She sat back early. She moved a little bit late, but it was just, she needed some extra time to get going. I do think if the race was a mile course, she probably would have won that day, but she ran her heart out there, earning a 91 buyer. She's going to the 1.5 miles, which I think she's bred for. Curlin placed behind the last filly to win the Belmont, Raxed Riches in 8:07, and the dam sire is AP Indy, who won this race in 1992, very very impressively, off of a quick turnaround from that Peter Pan earlier that 2 weeks prior, I think it was at that time. So I think she off of her running lines, I think she wants to go longer. She has some forwardly pace, which I think in a race that lacks some good forwardly pace, I think that's going to be to the key to her, and I think she could stay here today. Two back, she ran the grade one Ashland at Keeneland, wet fast going a mile 16th on the 8th of April, and she won by 8 1/4 lengths. And from a track position, she slowly moved her way up. She got the job done, and it was a very easy run for her there. And then before then, the Suncoast of Tampa, mile 40 on the 12th of February. She won by 6 lengths. And again, from a track position, she was a little bit wide, but she got the job done. A very easy race there. And then Demoiselle at Aqueduct, mile 8th on the 4th of December. She won by a neck that day. And, she didn't show a lot of forwardly pace that day. She sat behind all throughout. It took her time to get going, but she got the job done being Venti Valentine. Keep in mind that Demoiselle in 2021 was very good. The horses that have been coming out of that race have been all running these great races. The 1, 2, 3 all one next start out there. One of her only losses without Ortiz, or one of the Ortiz brothers, came in the 10th at Belmont, 1 mile on the 5th of November last year. She finished third by 3/4 length that day, and I don't think it was Dylan Davis's finest moment on a horse. This horse never really settled that day. It was a little bit wide, and it just took her a little bit of time to get going. It wasn't, she needed that race, I think, but her debut, which I remember watching live at Belmont, 25th of September, mile 16th in main special weight 83,000. She won by 5 lengths, and she stalked. She slowly moved her way up. She was a little bit green in the lane, but she still kept going. I think she wants the 1.5 miles. She's going to get it today. She has some forwardly pace in a race that doesn't have a lot of forwardly pace. At 8-1, I like her a lot. I think your second likeliest winner in this race is the 5-horse Creative Minister. 3 colt by Creative Cause. Kenneth McPeak trains. Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the mount. Most recently, they ran the horse in the Preakness at Pimlico, mile 3/16 on the 21st of May, and the horse finished third by 3 1/4 lengths that day. And the horse sat back early. He moved a little bit late, but he wanted something more. He's another horse. I think he can show some forwardly pace, in this race, and I think he wants to go the 1.5 miles. He definitely has the pedigree for it. But the class is going to be the big thing with him. Going to stakes quality horses only for the second time in the Belmont, but on Derby Day at Churchill, mile 16th in Lowndes race, he won by 2 3/4 lengths, and from coming from mid-pack that day, he didn't break that well, but he circled the field late. An all-around great race from there, and then the slot before that, Keeneland, a mile 16th in main special weight 98,000, winning by 1.5 lengths. He was a little bit wide that day, but from a track position, he went quite nicely. He's come into this race very well training. The quick turnaround from all the races doesn't bother me. That would be kind of cool if he could win this race, with everybody saying should the races be split apart. Now, he didn't get the mile 16. He only got a mile 16th on Derby Day, not the 1.25 miles. But I think he's on the up and up. I'll take my shot with him at 6-1. You also have to use the 6-horse Mo Donegal. He ran an okay 5th place finish in the Kentucky Derby, going a 1.25 miles, where he didn't break that well. He was stupidly wide, but he was closing up well late. Before that, he won the Wood very nicely, and then he didn't run a great race in the Holy Bull, where he lost all chances at the beginning because he didn't break that well with a quick run to the first turn at going a mile 16th at Gulfstream. I do think he should have broke a little bit better there, but he won the Remsen before that and won here at Belmont in the fall very, very nicely. It wouldn't surprise me at 5-2 he gets the job done here. And also the one horse, We the People, Flavian Pratt gets on this one for Windstar and Rudolph Brissett. This horse, another horse, I think he should definitely like the 1.5 miles. He won the local prep race, Peter Pan, on a good seal main track here a few weeks ago, very nicely by nearly a dozen. Then he ran a disappointing race in the Arkansas Derby, where he was very rambunctious before, very washy. If it mentions it in the comment line, if you go back to the video, he was very soapy that day. He never really showed up. The big thing is he was washy at Belmont in the Arkansas Derby. It's going to be a lot warmer today and a lot more people today. That's going to be, can his nerves settle down for this race? But before that, he won at Oaklawn very nicely and broke the maiden before that Oaklawn very nicely. He's training well. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins a 2-1, but I do prefer the other 3 before him. Let's talk about the other horses here. The 2-horse Skippy Lawn Stocking, 3 colt by Exaggerator. He'll have to have a very good trip here to win. It wouldn't surprise me for a superfecta, but he has to jump up quite a few buyer numbers. The 4-horse Rich Strike, he won the Derby, closing up from nowhere. Great ride by Sonny Leone, but he'll still, he's a horse. It wouldn't surprise me he gets 4th, but his running style is not suitable for this race. Mo Donegal, they keep saying if you're betting Mo Donegal, why aren't you betting Rich Strike? Mo Donegal doesn't need to be that far back. This horse is usually double digits. Early on, Mo Donegal is single digits, and about mid pack. This horse is gonna be last most of the race, and I just don't think he's gonna be quick enough to win this race today. I don't think it's gonna set up for him. We already talked about Creative Clause in the 6-horse Mo Donegal. The 7-horse Golden Glider, he placed in the Peter Pan, closing up a little bit that day, but another horse he'll have to quicken up quite a bit. And I don't know if he could stay the mile and a half. And the 8-horse Barber Road, looking over the vet thing about the vet forms about the horses, he's not the soundest horse either. He'll have to get a good trip, and I don't know if he wants to stay the mile and a half. He's a horse, I'd probably bet him next start out in like the Indiana or West Virginia Derby. For this race, he'll have to really run a good race. But to recount my selection for the 11th from Belmont, it's the Grade 1 $1.5 million Belmont Stakes. As a top selection, we'll take the 3-horse Nest. We'll give kudos to the 5-horse Creative Minister and the 6-horse Mo Donegal. 3-5-6-1 Super, 3-5-6 in your multi-race. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections, and also join me next week for my Royal Ascot previews. Good luck, everybody.